here. We do ask that the appellants, if at all possible, confine themselves to a 10-minute interval. Following that, we'll solicit testimony from anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard in favor of the appeal. And following that, we will solicit testimony from anyone who wishes to be heard in opposition to the appeal. We ask that members of the audience who are testifying confine themselves, if at all possible, to 5 minutes. After that, we will check in with the Code Enforcement Office to see if there are any comments from the office. And if so, or if any testimony has been offered that seems to bear factual clarification, the appellant will have the opportunity to offer that clarification, not new evidence, prior to our closing the public testimony portion of the hearing. Under most circumstances, not all, the board will act on each case before moving on to the next. Now, before the first case that's on the agenda tonight is actually a continuation, and I wanted to chat with the board about that briefly. At the time that we recessed that case, we had closed the public testimony portion of the hearing, and typically after that we don't take new testimony from anyone. We now have some information that has been submitted by the appellants and by the city concerning the case. And so what I wanted to do was poll the board and find out if you want to reopen the case for testimony or whether you want to just continue with the deliberations that we had already started on. We could do either. It seems to me the question is worth asking because we have gotten new information that we did not have at the time the hearing closed last month. How's that look to you, Andrew?
I would tend to lean towards reopening it, although I don't feel strongly about it. I don't know if this has come up before. I'd want to stick with whatever procedure we've had in the past, but
I don't know that we've had a procedure.
Okay.
As I understand it, the general advice to zoning boards is once you close the testimony, you close the testimony. And you don't, after that, you don't take any more new information, you don't take any more testimony from the floor. And the reason you don't is that, in theory, someone, once the testimony is closed, could leave the room who is interested in the case because there's no more input that they can have. And then if more input is solicited, they wouldn't have an opportunity to offer it. So that's the reason for not reopening the testimony. But I thought I'd raise the question because it seems to me that we're sort of in a hybrid situation here. Normally, I mean, we might close the testimony and move on because we were looking for more information, usually factual information.
my recollection is the applicant requested the recess towards the end, but anyone who was interested, I think would have understood that we might be listening to more testimony. So I'm not as concerned about that, about somebody having relied on that. I'm just thinking about not allowing a whole, basically a repetition. So I mean, I'd be inclined to open it, but I would suggest we caution the applicants or anyone else who's testifying that, they don't need to dwell on what's already been said. They can just offer new information.
We could certainly do that because it's a continuation of the hearing. We're not starting over. How do you look at it, Ted?
I don't think I was here for the original presentation, so I would probably lean towards opening.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I guess I agree with Andrew. As long as we're receiving new information, that'd be fine. I don't think we have to repeat anything that's already been said. And I know we have a pretty tough chairman, so he'll make sure that
Yeah, tough, bordering on unreasonable. Yeah. Nick, what do you?
No, I'm just looking at the minutes. It says, could they be continued so they could bring it back for more clarification? And we had no objections, so I think.
All right.
I'd be inclined to want to hear some more.
To hear a motion to reopen the case and to take testimony to the extent that the testimony is contributing new information.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, The vote is unanimous, and we will take testimony if anyone cares to offer it. The case is case 0086, 13 Lawrence Street, UIRM Medium Density Residential District. Andrew and Christopher Knight are the owners. The applicant wishes to construct 2 additional two-family dwellings on a single lot currently containing a two-family dwelling and seeks variances to Article 2824H, multiple principal uses on a single lot, to allow 3 two-family dwellings on a single lot that is not a PUD, and Article 28.5-2, duplex or two-family dwelling, to allow 3 two-family dwellings on a lot having 165.44 feet of road frontage where 450 feet is required, 150 feet per building. Is someone representing the appellant here, and would they like to speak? Please come forward. Why don't you sit over here if you would? I swear you in, gentlemen? Swear to tell the truth and nothing but?
Yes.
Would you identify yourselves for the record, please? Do we have a sign-up sheet?
Yes.
And would you also jot your names on the sign-up sheet?
Yep.
That way we have a accurate spelling and knew who was here.
Andrew Knight. My name is Chris. We'll keep this brief, but I am just going to read a letter that we submitted in response to a letter that I believe you all received.
Yeah, we also got the letter you submitted.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. So this letter was addressed to Matthew Walsh. I'll just read it quick. My name is Chris Knight. I, along with my father Jeffrey and brother Andrew, have been building houses in Greater Concord for a number of years. We are dedicated to providing energy efficient and affordable housing options in the communities in which we build. While most of the new construction work, our new construction work consists of single-family homes, we have built several two-family homes as well. My brother Andrew and I own the property at 13 Lawrence Street and have submitted a variance request for 2 additional two-family structures on a lot with 1 existing two-family structure. The proposal is a bit unique in that it is not a traditional subdivision, not a PUD, and not a cluster subdivision. But it's something we thought the city would receive in a positive manner given the city's need for diverse and affordable housing options. We are in receipt of a memo from David Hall to the ZBA titled 13 Lawrence Street Variance Request and dated October 19th, 2023. The memo's claim that we are seeking to bypass all of the requirements in the PUD regulations is frustrating and frankly insulting. Prior to submitting the variance application, my brother Andrew and Brett Allard, an attorney with Shaughnessy Allard, met with zoning staff to discuss the proposed project. Andrew and Brett shared the concept of adding 2 additional two-family dwellings to the property and solicited feedback from staff on how to best proceed with permitting. Based on staff feedback, we understood there were 3 different avenues for permitting. After reviewing those options with staff, it was collectively determined the best path forward was the variance request we ultimately submitted. Because our proposed project was not a PUD and did not meet the requirements of a PUD, we collectively determined it imprudent to pursue a PUD. Further, we met with each of the neighbors at least once and many of them multiple times to share details of the project and solicit their feedback. When it became clear there was a concern about the water supply on Lawrence Street Extension, we scheduled a meeting and met with engineering staff to discuss and present a new 8-inch water line designed to be built to city standards on Lawrence Street Extension at our cost. We truly believe this project, as proposed, will provide many benefits to the city and the residents of Lawrence Street Extension. The process recommended to us seemed reasonable and appropriate to the scale of the project. There was no attempt on our part to circumvent regulatory authority or avoid productive and collaborative input from any city department or board. In fact, we sought feedback and guidance from the city and other stakeholders before and after we submitted the variance request. We look forward to continuing our efforts to provide the city with diverse and affordable housing options and working with staff collaboratively in the future. We had prepared a number of documents, a traffic study, a plan showing the green space, and then a plan showing sewer and water extensions down the extension that were designed to city standards. But given that it's become unclear to us what the permitting path forward is based on this memo, we'd like to withdraw our application.
Oh, well, that ends that discussion. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks anyway.
We did all that thoughtful thinking for nothing. All right, well,
That's dramatic.
all right, that takes us to our next case this evening, which is case 102, 5 Short Street, RD Downtown Residential District. Local Rentals LLC is the owner. The applicant wishes to pave a driveway 1 foot from the side property line where 5 feet is required and seeks a variance to Article 2877G, setbacks from lot lines.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You might want to wait a second.
Swear to tell the truth and nothing but?
Yes,
May we have your name, please?
Mark Beauregard.
Mr. Borger, let's wait just a second or two while the room clears.
Can you repeat your last name?
Beauregard. Beauregard.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I recently purchased, I'm Mark Beauregard, representing Local Rentals LLC. We recently purchased the property at 5 Short Street. It's a residential 2-family property that currently does not have a suitable driveway for tenants. Looking to get a variance to pave within 1 foot of the property line to the, I believe it's the east. The street is kind of a unique street. It's very short, hence the name, Short Street. It's also very narrow. Whenever anybody parks on the street, they're intuitively just turning in the driver's side mirror so that when you park on the street, cars and, you know, FedEx guys and Amazon drivers can get through. It is very narrow. There's minimal parking on the street, and it has kind of a unique traffic pattern where parents will, for children that go to CMS school, Krista McCall School, park on that street. They line up the whole right-hand side of the street and drop their kids off, which is great. It's only a mile and a half or a block and a half from the school, so they park their cars, walk their children to CMS in the morning, and then pretty much everybody vacates and leaves. In the afternoon hours, all the parents come back, park in the same spots, and pick the children up from CMS, and a lot of the parents and children congregate at the park, Thompson Park across the street, and utilize the park for a couple of hours, which I think is great. I'm seeking to get a paved driveway so that I don't interfere with that flow. I kind of like it. It's kind of nice. It's a nice spot of town, in town, you know, where people can utilize the park. The other thing with the street is that there is no parking in the winter months at all, so tenants utilizing the property wouldn't have any place to park. And during the other seasons, the other 3 seasons of the year, there's only an allotment for 2 hours of parking between 7 and 6, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So not a lot of options for parking there. The city, when they paved the road, did the sidewalks and curbing, they engineered a driveway cutout, 12-foot driveway cutout for the property. The property was previously used by the owner for a nurse that would come in and visit. In the winter months, they would plow out that area, use it as a driveway. So I'm looking to, again, use it as a driveway, continue the use as a driveway, and just have it paved so that people could park on it. So we can get the cars off the street, not interrupt the flow of the, the school, kids being dropped off and everything else.
So, wait, so you're saying they cut the curb and used it as a driveway, but they were parking on the grass?
Correct, yes, yes.
Okay, so,
Yep, there's the curb cutout, as you can see.
So
If you look at, sorry, do you have a question?
so would you be abutting the existing pavement that's there of your neighbors? or-
Would not be connecting, would be a foot off. That driveway is also a foot off the property line, this would be the same.
is that stone there, the property line?
That is the property line, so as you can see where the property line starts, that's where the driveway cutout is. So naturally, if you were gonna put in pavement, it's gonna be right on the property line. So I'm seeking a variance to be able to do that.
How wide is the driveway that you're gonna, or the pavement? Is it the entire grassy?
Sorry, say that again?
Is it the entire grassy area? that you-
Pretty much the entire grassy area. I've got enough room there to fit 3 10 by 20 parking spots going 40 feet deep. There's 45 feet worth of property. So you could fit 2 deep and then 1 side by side. The idea would be that you've got 2 units in the building. So the upstairs is a 1-bedroom. One person would get 1 parking spot, the one that would be off to the right. And the downstairs would get 2 parking spots. One would be, they would be stacked on the left-hand side.
Where do tenants park now?
Tenants, prior to me purchasing the property, there was no tenant. There hasn't been a tenant up in that, the upstairs apartment for probably 20 years. It was owned by Helen Hutchins, sorry. She was a widow and had her brother upstairs for a period of time, and when he moved out, nobody's been up there since. So we're essentially adding 1 unit to the rental market for housing as well.
If you were to reduce the width of the driveway or the paved area by 4 feet, you'd comply with the zoning. Where would that leave you in terms of the utility of paved area?
Correct. I don't see that as a great fit, just because I think at that point, you would have only 2 parking spots and they would be stacked one in front of the other. So say the upstairs tenant was parked in the back, they would both have to, the tenants don't know each other, so they would have to coordinate who's gonna get out of the driveway and when, and
So the additional 4 feet buys you spaces that don't stack?
to unstack, and have 2 wide, yes. Yeah. But I would also, because I'm paving it, most households, if it's a couple or partners, you're gonna have 2 vehicles in the 2 unit. So I'd like to get 2 stacked and then 1 off to the right.
So your parking arrangement would basically mirror what we see there of your neighbors, is that the idea?
It would be that, except it wouldn't have where that white truck is. It would kind of be if you were to look at that, you've got the 2 cars on the left, you'd have 1 spot closest to us on the road, and you'd kind of pick that up, shift it over, it'd be the same.
Are you the only house on Short Street that doesn't have a paved driveway?
Only house. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Anything else you'd like us to know?
Let me go through my notes here. Probably the only other thing, I don't know if you guys have the packets
We
that
do.
I submitted.
We do.
The last page just kind of shows, how tight this section of the city is. It's an older section of the city prior to, the zoning and the variances and everything else. And most properties in that area, I've got a 750-foot view. I counted, my last count is updated from the ones that I highlighted on your packets. It's the last page. I'm up to 21, and I think I found one this morning, which makes 22 driveways that don't conform to the variance. And that just kind of illustrates how tight it is, and, that there's not really a great workaround for that.
You were talking about at the beginning, The parking is allowed on street, it's just really tight.
It's very tight, and I don't want to interrupt the flow of, you know, the comings and going of the local community.
Is it allowed on both sides?
It's only allowed on one side. It is extremely tight on that road.
And is there meters, or it's?
No meters. No.
It's first come, first served?
First come, first serve, yes.
Is there any restrictions, like with school hours, or?
There is, they've got the 7 AM to 6 PM, 2-hour maximum. And then in the winter months, it shuts down completely. There's no access for on-street parking. Because you literally can probably tightly fit a plow down the road. It's extremely, extremely tight. You can't really see it very well, but there's a telephone pole almost directly across the street from where the driveway would be. So whenever you park on the street right there, I mean, everybody slows right down and they kind of thread the needle and get through there.
So if you can't get a variance, your tenants will really have no reliable parking?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone here who would like to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement? With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed. We have a request for a variance to pave up to within a foot of the property line. We heard testimony that without pavement on this part of the property, there's no option for parking for tenants. And without the zoning violation, they would not, without zoning forgiveness, they would not be able to park 2 cars side by side. Nick, how do you feel about this one?
You know, I navigated that street several times yesterday as a ward official, and it certainly was tight. I think it's a reasonable request. I think the hardship is that he's denied reasonable use of his property, and that most of his neighbors do have paved parking.
I agree, Nick.
Ted?
I'll list all the aspects I think this meets for a variance. if
All
you'd
right.
like.
Yeah.
I think they're all met here, so
Okay,
I won't bother reading them.
okay. Well, we do need to go, at some point, we need to go on the record if we're going to have a motion. How do you look at it, Andrew?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a relatively small lot. The multifamily, the duplex is, I believe it's allowed by right. It certainly exists, and I think we could take into account the existing use. And I think it's kind of a safety issue if it has no parking. So the only real issue is, do we try to limit it somehow? But really, if you look at the lot, I think it's a reasonable amount of space to use for parking for a duplex, and it's really the only conceivable place for it. So I do think it's a reasonable use.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
All right.
So I've already addressed the hardship issue.
Yep.
I certainly don't think the values of surrounding properties are going to be diminished. Substantial justice is done. It's not going to alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And I think it's already been recognized with the existing curb cuts that the driveway is merited there.
Very good. And is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. You're welcome. Our next case this evening is case 105, Greenwich Street, RS Single Family Residential District. Gerald and Charles Waterman are the owners. The applicant wishes to construct additional living space on an existing single-family dwelling and seeks variances to Article 28.85B, continuation of non-conforming structures to allow the expansion of a non-conforming structure, and Article 28.4-1, dimensional standards, to allow an expansion of a single-family dwelling 10 feet from the side parcel line where 15 feet is required. Is there someone here from either Mr. Waterman?
I think there might have been an error.
Okay.
That, we are the owners of the property, and our name is Tyler and Lauren Robinson. We've
Yeah,
owned
you're
the
at a
property
different
for over 5 years now.
Oh,
Correct on here.
really? Well, Shame on me. Do you swear to tell the truth, whoever you are?
Yeah.
And once again, would you identify yourselves for the record?
Lauren Robinson?
And I'm Tyler Robinson.
That's what I get from reading the agenda and not the file. What would you like us to know?
Geez, sorry, I was signing our names in. So, again, we have owned the property for 5 years now. We are a recent family of 4 where we welcomed our second son in early August. At this time, we're asking for a variance to convert the existing garage, finished enclosed porch into a livable space to allow for the expansion of our family and to have that space available that could be better used than what it currently is. We have spoken with our neighbors on the abutting property. At the time that we had spoken with them, they did not have any objections to our proposal. The new space would allow us to better utilize our home for our needs. In addition to the conversion of the non-livable space, we will be requesting to expand off of the rear of the garage to allow for a new home office as we both work hybridly and need additional space to properly work from home.
So the garage footprint would remain the same, but you're going to make it habitable space instead of a garage.
Correct.
And then you wanted to add essentially a rectangle off the back, which is 14 feet square for the office.
Correct.
Devil's advocate, why, if you put the expansion on the back kind of more dead center, you could avoid the setback? Is there a sort of a design reason why it's going directly behind the garage?
So the design purpose is that there is an existing deck on the back of the house. So if we were to move it over, it would be overlapping with that existing deck. We're trying to keep it in line with the current property where the garage is placed. So then it would just be flush with that.
Oh, the deck is it behind where the sliding door is?
Correct. That would be where behind where we're going to be placing a sliding door. There is not currently a sliding door there.
Oh, so you'd have to tear down the deck to do what I was
Correct.
suggesting. Oh, got it, okay.
So was the deck not on it, or am I just misreading the picture when that photo was taken?
Yeah.
That looks like an older photo. There is a deck that we placed onto the property approximately 3 years ago.
Okay. So now we know what's there and who owns it. We're catching up fast. Any other questions from the board?
There's, I'm assuming you're in city water and sewer,
Correct.
so there's no septic on the property?
No.
There's no grade, it's flat in the backyard?
Correct.
Andrew, any questions?
No.
Ted?
Oh, I think I'm all set.
What's already non-conforming? Is it the side setback in the garage or the other end of the house that is within the setback?
From what our understanding was, it was that the existing garage was within that setback that the original owners of the house had applied for zoning.
The other end of the house where the garage is not, is that within the setback? It's just hard to tell the way the red line looks like it's right on the.
Yeah, on this one, it looks like it's literally on the property line,
Right.
The existing house
on the other side.
does, yeah.
So I guess my observation would be if they want to put the office at the other end of the house, it would be more non-conforming
Yeah.
than if they put it this end.
I mean, I
I
guess,
was trust GPS, but it couldn't be that far off.
Due to the layout of the house, that is a bedroom, so that would kind of defeat our purpose, where right now we're trying to add an additional bedroom into where our living room is, and we're converting the garage into a living space.
Very good.
what if you put it on the other side of the deck, but still far enough in?
That's a bathroom. So then again, we would run into the same situation where we would have to reconfigure the entire layout of the home to try to find another
You
space
enter
for a
the office
bathroom.
through the bathroom. Right.
I do a lot of my floor plans that way.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you just thought of everything.
It's a very tight layout that we have, and unfortunately, just due to the property lots in our area, it's rather small to try to expand, and this is really our only layout option that we would have.
Where's Greenwich Street?
It's off Airport Road.
Any questions, Dick?
No, I'm good, thank you.
We all set, gentlemen? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who wishes to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement?
The only comment would be, I understand that it's a little confusing where one side of the building is clearly in the setback, which is the easterly side. The memo from the staff flagged that it was the westerly side, whereby it's about a 10-foot setback and 15 is required, so that's just for clarification.
Very good, thank you. With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed. We have a request to grant a variance to allow an expansion of a nonconforming use with a 14-foot square office, which would continue the line of the existing garage, which is already in violation of the setback. Andrew, how does this one look to you?
Well, it's, if you look at it, at least as far as I can tell, this must predate the zone because they had built it they'd shifted around the other way, they'd have plenty of space on either side. But the way
Rotated the whole house?
Yeah, if they rotated the whole house, so, I mean, there must be some reason why they built it this way. There's plenty of room in the lot, but it's all behind. I mean, we could potentially, find that they kind of created their own hardship because they built the deck, but, honestly, it's a small office, it's in line with the existing setback, and they're not too far into the setback, so it seems like a pretty minimal imposition and reasonable given the placement of the house on the lot, so I'd be inclined to approve.
Ted?
Yeah, I think the hardship is in the narrowness of the lot, and no matter what they would do to expand that, they would have to come for variance, right, even if they went up, the way I understand it. So, I don't think it would have any negative impact on the neighborhood values, and some of the other lots, even the one next door is pretty close to the lot line. So I think they meet the criteria.
Jim?
I have nothing to add.
Nick?
Neither do I.
I agree with my colleagues. Would anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Do you have enough information, Deb? Or,
One moment.
Ted?
Motioned. Okay. I'm good.
okay.
In terms of criteria,
All set on the criteria? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. (107), the next case, 107, 1012 Higgins Place, Opportunity Corridor Performance District, Mountain Creek Realty. The applicant wishes to construct 2 single-family dwelling units on one parcel and seeks variances to Article 2824J, Table of Principal Uses, to allow use A1, single-family detached dwelling, and Article 2824H, multiple principal uses on a single lot, excuse me, to allow 2 single-family dwellings on a single lot. Swear to tell the truth and nothing but.
Yes.
Would you sign in, please?
Hi everyone, my name is Tom Villamure. I've owned the 10 to 12 Higgins for a little over a year now. It's zoned OCP, which to my understanding was for more multifamily area zonings. What I would like to do is put just 2 single-family houses on one existing lot. I added my plot map, which had basically just the kind of broad layout of what I would like to do. I get it's a little unique, but
Why not subdivide the lot into 2?
so basically it's a small lot in general, and one house would kind of be behind the other house, and just thought keep it the same, turn it almost into a small two-house condo sort of thing. It's I get that it'd be simpler just build a multifamily. These would be 2 single-family ranch houses with an attached garage. Affordability, is a big concern nowadays, and these would be affordable houses. And instead of just having one owner to purchase these, you'd now get to have 2. Yeah.
Dan, could you zoom in a little bit more on the lot, please? What's on that lot right now? I see a couple of structures.
So that's actually a neighbor's shed, that was there when we bought it. He has that on our lot, which would have to be handled. Other than that, it's just grass and trees. It's a place, I've seen people trying to cut across it when I've been there. It's kind of just dead space right now.
Would you be putting a driveway somewhere along that?
Yeah, so the driveway would have to be going, honestly, where the neighbor's shed is now. So that would have to be handled. And then it would cut around to separate the 2 houses.
Matt, is a single-family house allowed on an OCP?
I do not believe that it is, actually.
Okay.
What is the, what's the policy on an OCP? What is the OCP just trying to achieve?
The OCP exists, essentially it was created as part of the 2001 zoning ordinance to encourage redevelopment of the Opportunity Corridor. So it's areas that are like Horseshoe Pond, which has been turned into the Grapponi Conference Center. It would be areas along Store Street, between basically downtown and 93, down to the South End Rail Yard, right now, Langdon Avenue area where that's being redeveloped. The former Allied Leather Tannery site was OCP. So it was really meant to foster redevelopment of former blighted industrial areas of the city into something else.
Are all those houses on Herbert Street in an OCP district?
I believe that they are, and they've been there for a very long time.
They must well predate the zoning.
Yes. I'll just see if I can bring up the OCP district map for you.
So does the OCP are multifamilies allowed, like, or
Yes, yeah, there is multifamily housing development that's occurred in the OCP district, yes, yep.
But is it allowed?
I believe it is. For example, there are 54 units at the former Allied Leather Tannery site, which is OCP, which are 20 units are being completed right now, so, yes.
There were no variances for that.
No, there were not.
do you happen to know, sorry to put you on the spot, do you happen to know how many units someone could put on there as a matter of right?
I do not know off the top of my head on that, no.
Let's try to look real quick.
When Matt's looking it up, I said, do you know if there's ever been anything on that lot?
Not that I'm aware of, no. The neighborhood itself only really has, I think, about 10 houses altogether right now. I know for a fact that there is a single family that not connects, but the lot behind mine hooks around, and there's a single family at the end of that house, at the end of that street on the end of Herbert.
The other houses in the neighborhood are multifamily?
From what I'm aware of, there's, yes, multi-families and then a single family at the end of Herbert.
So,
They might all, you think some of those are multifamilies? Or are they all single families?
No, there is a duplex neighboring mine.
Okay.
reason for building two beautiful ranch houses, I think is what it says there.
You like that?
Yeah, that would be a
It
condition
will
of
be one of the
approval.
conditions.
Very good.
You think that for economic purposes, or you think it's folks who prefer to live in a detached
Two
home?
things. So first thing is it gives different people a chance to buy a house. The affordable housing. This isn't $500,000 house. You know, would be affordable. They're just single family ranches. Second of all, price wise for me, it's more affordable to be able to put down 2 single family houses than to do a duplex with the plans that I have.
You mean in terms of your economics for your developing this lot?
Yeah.
You already own it, or you're?
I own the lot.
Okay. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
So for the clarification for the question that was asked,
Yeah.
in the OCP district, single-family detached dwelling is not permitted, and neither are duplexes.
Okay, so hence the first variance for the,
Correct.
So it looks like, but multifamilies are, so it's got to be at least 4 units?
3 or more.
3 or more units are required.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board?
No.
There's city water and sewer there?
Yeah.
And one of the abutters is the railroad?
It's the road, and then I have a neighbor right next to me that has a duplex.
This is pretty close to the old DOT building. There's been a lot of discussion about what they're going to do with it, right? Does anyone know if they made any decisions?
I think there's construction going on.
It's underway, it's gonna be,
It's going to be apartments?
Yeah. What, the next door neighbor to the south, I think, is the U-Haul.
Yeah.
U-Haul garage.
Correct. That's across the street from my lot.
Yeah. Very good. Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who would like to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement?
None.
With that,
code enforcement question.
all right, shoot.
So I understand that in this zone, you're not allowed to have residential, single-family. What was the reason for that? Was the city's hope that it would be developed for commercial purposes?
I think part of it is there's very little single-family existing in the OCP district, and the goal was really to develop it into commercial or mixed-use area that would be very dense. Think of the area abutting here in Horseshoe Pond with the Grapponi Conference Center. The office buildings are up there. Things of that nature. So this is an unusual island of single-family home that exists in, generally speaking, in the OCP district throughout the city.
With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed, and I will invite discussion. We heard testimony that the existing building would be similar to other structures around it, but that neither it nor they are permitted by right in this zone. I'm going to start this one with Mr. Monahan. How do you see this?
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a unicorn in that it's this kind of legacy residential neighborhood in the middle of a opportunity card zone, and it's probably unlikely to get developed to be consistent with the density expectations. But on the other hand, there may be other avenues like subdivision or change of the zone. So I'm trying to get to yes, but I'm not there yet.
Okay. Nick, how do you see it?
Did I hear that only three units per lot are allowed? Is that what I heard?
3 or more.
And yet we don't see any 3 units there. We all see duplexes. So I don't think it would alter the character of the neighborhood if we had 2 single units there. I think it's certainly an unusual area. And I think I would tend to lean to support the proposal as
In other words,
submitted.
you'd vote in favor of a motion to
would.
approve. Ted?
I don't think it would have any impact on the value in the neighborhood properties. I think I'm a little bit unclear whether it's within the spirit of the ordinance, that one, is I'm having a little struggle with. The hardship aspect, to have two single families as opposed to one, or some other kind of structure, I'm not really clear on that either, so.
Okay. Andrew, how do you see it?
I don't see the hardship. I do appreciate his rationale but I think they're more policy kind of considerations. But I think that this zone, I mean, this is kind of a, I don't know if blighted that might be an extreme, but it's kind of a rundown area of the city that I think that the city is probably hoping is going to show improvement. I think that the nearby apartments at the DOT are going to hopefully kind of bring some life to that area. And I think that the point of this zone is to really have more density, 3 or more units. And the fact that it's a big lot does make it a little bit different, but I actually think that kind of lends it more to kind of having at least a 3+ unit instead of 2 separate single families. So I'd be inclined to deny it.
I have a little different take on it. I think unicorn is a pretty good description of this neighborhood and every lot in it, in that it's a pocket in a larger district that is anomalous. And at the same time, this lot has sat there before it was an OCP and after it was an OCP and not been developed as anything. And now someone is coming along and saying that he'd like to develop it as essentially a 2-family residence, 2 buildings. If they connected them with a breezeway, it would be 1, I suspect. And so I do think the characteristics of the lot where it is create a hardship in this case, and that because of the other residential uses around it, it does constitute a reasonable use of the property and does not disrupt the fabric of the neighborhood such as it is. Anomalies are something that I think zoning boards are created to deal with, as opposed to just simply saying that's the code and that's the way it is. So I would be inclined to grant for those reasons. I suspect that this is going to be a residential neighborhood for a long time. That may not be true, but obviously the developer thinks so. I think that as far as the spirit of the ordinance, hard to say. That assumes that you don't have anomalies. It assumes that the land has been zoned in a reasonable way, and in this case, it's just an oddball. So I think it, for that reason, qualifies as relief. I suspect that if it were challenged in court, the judge would have a lot of fun trying to figure out what to do. But that's how I look at it. But it sounds to me like my colleagues are not persuaded. So does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Oh, to approve.
Yeah, I think that the hardship is the unicorn nature of this neighborhood stuck into being pulled into a zone that was created after it was there. And so that's the hardship. I do think that it's not an affront to the spirit of the ordinance, just because again, the unicorn nature of it would just make it very hard for this parcel to conform with the spirit of the ordinance any other way. So I think with that, I'd move to support.
Is there a second?
Second. Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded. I'm not sure who seconded it. It was a photo finish.
Ted. We'll give it to Ted.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion to grant, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
It is 4-1 with Mr. Winters in the minority. The variance is granted. And that brings us to the last case on our agenda this evening, which is case 10989 Fort Eddy Road, Gateway Performance District. Planet Fitness Realco LLC are the owners. The applicant wishes to change uses from service D1 to restaurant I1 and seeks a variance to Article 28.72E, Table of Off-Street Parking Requirements, to provide 193 parking spaces where 250 are required. Swear to tell the truth and nothing but. I do. Have you signed in? Excellent. May we have your name, please?
Good evening. My name is Matt Peterson with Keach Nordstrom Associates, here representing the proposed change of use at 89 Fort Eddy Road, or known as the Planet Fitness Plaza. I think most of you know where it's at. The project in front of the board tonight is tax map 59Z, lot 17 on Fort Eddy Road. The site is about 3.3 acres in size. As I just said, I'm sure the board has well understand the site. Over the past 6 to 7 years, can you just throw up the 2015 aerial that you have right there? Yep. So since about the last 8 years, from the aerial here, you'll notice if you had been out there about 2015, 2016, the broken up pavement there that you see, all that was kind of an eyesore, was not really well circulated, didn't make sense that was out there. So if you look at the next aerial, the 2020, they had gone out there and ripped out all the area that's there and repaved the whole area. They created 193 parking spaces. They requested a variance at that time for 200, they were required to have 239 spaces. They were granted a variance for 193. The uses were all specifically outlined there. I think there was some concern on controlling the tenants that go into the site here because of the variance that you guys had granted at the time. So they had put caveats that anything that kind of came back in would have to go through the same process. So the building on the left side, the white building that you see, the roof white, that's the Planet Fitness building that sits in the back. To the left is your kind of standard strip plaza that's there. Currently on site, and there's a site plan that we had submitted as well that I think you have that in the file there.
We do.
That goes through and kind of shows you the different tenants that were all along that side there. The last unit on the brown roof building was a tanning salon. The tanning salon required 4.8 parking spaces at that variance that you granted back then to get to the 239. They are requesting a sub-type restaurant shop to relocate in the tanning salon. That restaurant sub-shop would require 16 spaces. So it's an increase of 11.2. So the variance that was granted for was from 239 to 193. We are requesting a variance from 250 down to the 193 to allow this on site. To me, from an engineering standpoint, with the redone of this development, it's pretty clean. It seems to make sense. Well, I live in Henniker. Both my sons use the Planet Fitness on a weekly basis, so I know a lot about it there. I think there's plenty of parking in this location. I think it's much more circulation now, clean entrance coming in. You have the right turn out at the bottom of the site now as well. And we've kind of submitted the application for the variances there, and I think you guys have all that there. Just keep it simple and really answer any questions or comments that you guys have. Just looking to convert the tanning salon into a sub shop.
Did I correctly understand that any change that you make would require a variance for parking?
That's what I'm under the standing as well, yep.
Other questions from the board?
I don't know how many years now it's been since you took over the cobblestone area, but my recollection is going back maybe even 10 plus years, parking was not great there for people using the gym, like to the point where people would have to park all the way across the street, and which is kind of dangerous. Has it improved since you've taken over that?
Oh, drastically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's, you go by there now, you don't see the craziness moving in and out of there and stuff like that. Yes, this was a substantial change for it.
Okay, good.
Other questions?
Yeah.
In the same building, it's listed where, existing hair salon, existing restaurant, existing boxing studio. Is the existing restaurant still there?
I don't have that.
It is not.
It is not.
Yeah.
Was that this Maddie's now?
That was Smoke Show, and they
Right.
moved over to,
But now Maddie's has gone in there. Maddie's restaurant is.
oh, it's a restaurant now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
It is, okay, all right.
I thought it,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
I
and
thought-
she's also got a marketplace on the heights,
oh, interesting. Fat lot I know.
but it hasn't been advertised. But I'm there
It
5
is-
days a week, so I see all the activity, and there is,
You go to Maddie's 5 days a week?
it looks it, but, no, I don't fitness it. And I can certainly attest to the parking, that it's certainly readily available.
Yeah, it was a
throughout.
nightmare before. Does the restaurant have seating, the sub shop?
It will have some seating, yes, I would assume so. I haven't seen a floor plan inside yet, but it's a national, and I would assume that they would have a few.
It's a what?
National brand,
Oh,
national sub shop.
is that the name of a?
No.
It's
It's
gonna be
gonna
a
be-
known brand, you just don't know the exact.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say or
I'll
not, the
understand.
attorney, I know, they told me,
Fair enough.
An unnamed national chain.
yes. Not a lot of them. Yeah, two or
Mustn't
three.
pry. Any other questions from the board? Gentlemen, all set? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in opposition to it? Any comments from code enforcement?
No, I think it's been presented well.
I beg your pardon?
It's been presented well, no comments.
With that, we'll declare the public testimony portion of the hearing closed. We have a request for a change of use in the, one of the slots in the strip development building. We heard testimony that the parking has been maximized over the years. The change of use prompts a parking requirement. We also heard testimony that any change of use here would require forgiveness on the parking. Let's start this one with Mr. Winters.
You're right. I mean, I think it's kind of an oddity that the restaurant requires more parking spots than a tanning salon. That wouldn't have been intuitive to me. I mean, most people nowadays get takeout or in and out of sub shop pretty fast. I don't think people are spending hours in there. So I doubt it has any real major impact. So I'd be inclined to approve.
Ted?
I'll agree.
Jim?
Nothing to add.
You know,
I agree with my colleagues. I think the hardship is created by the fact that anything they want to do in there requires forgiveness, and what they want to do seems reasonable, and it's entirely consistent with what's already there. Would anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The vote is unanimous. The variance is granted. Is there any other business to come before us this evening?
we got a draft of the minutes behind your back, so,
You did?
yep.
Oh.
So
I saw them, printed them, and didn't read them.
Yeah.
We can wait.
I figured
Yeah.
we'd wait till next
we
week.
we can wait till next week.
I don't think I saw them.
Email this afternoon, right?
Yeah, this afternoon.
Oh, I didn't get the email
And I
yet.
sent them to you another time, but I wonder if, I'm hoping I put the right email in, so I'll have to double check.
Yeah. Usually I do take a quick look at them, and then I circulate them to the rest of the board.
I know, that's what I thought. So I had sent them last week.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard back from you, and so I wonder if I put in the wrong email, but I'm pretty sure I put in the correct one. I'll double check.
Could be my mistake. You know what? Did you send it under your own email address?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why.
It probably went into my spam folder. I'll check.
thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, hold on.